Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Folks, what is up? Welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. You're here with Blake and you're here with Austin. And we are here to talk all things Tennessee Volunteers. And Austin, the Tennessee Volunteers can't stop winning, bro. It's just we have nothing but wins to talk about today. We're going to get a little bit of men's basketball. We're going to be going back to the Texas A&M game. Big, huge win there. Going to be talking about the most recent win against LSU down in Louisiana, Baton Rouge. We're going to be talking about the baseball team, who is still undefeated and on a roll, looking good as always. And we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of Lady Vols action in terms of the women's basketball. Also got a huge win against Alabama. And then, of course, the men's team now has a big game against Alabama coming up. So we're going to get into all that. But, man, Austin, it's as always, man, it's a good time to be a volunteer because we just can't stop winning. And it started with the Texas A&M game last Saturday, where we just got an absolutely massive win that really is so massive because it keeps us in the hunt for that number one seed.
It did, dude. It was a huge win. Road win against a top 10 opponent. A&M is looking like a 2 seed. I don't know where they'll end up, if they're a 3 seed or what. But either way, we beat a really good tournament team on the road. Chaz Lanier, story of the game, probably, right? He starts off,
Yep.
especially in the first half, just on fire. I think he had 23 in the first half. Just really, really good shooting in this game. And honestly, what kept us in it, too, because we were off to a slow start in this game.
We were, yeah.
Down early, needed to come back, and really Chaz led that comeback. But ultimately, dude, not to take away from what Chaz did, but ultimately Zakai closed the show, man. Zakai closed the show, so
Yep.
it was a really good team win, and like you said, it was much needed if we wanted to stay in the 1 seed hunt. Now, I mean, we really kind of control our own destiny at this point. If we win out, beat Alabama this Saturday, and take care of business everywhere else against Ole Miss and South Carolina, I think we'll end up with that 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't, especially with, Alabama is still a great team, top 10 team that we're going to be playing on Saturday. And yeah, Texas A&M, like you mentioned, is looking like a 2 seed right now. They were number 7 when we played them, and so yeah, and we were away. We were at
Yeah,
Texas A&M.
exactly.
And so it was a huge road win, like you mentioned. And yeah, dude, I was able to watch the game, and yeah, we were off to such a slow start in the beginning of the first half, especially. We were down by 9, maybe more at one point, but I know we were actually. I think we might have been down by double digits at one point. But man, it was at first we weren't hitting shots. Really slow offensive start, and then something just clicked for Chaz, and all of a sudden he started draining those threes, and we were looking like a team possessed. And obviously Texas A&M, stayed in it throughout most of the game. They fought pretty hard, as you would expect when you're at another team's, stadium or arena, I should say. And so it was a hard fought game, but it was a huge game and a good win. And like you said, Zakai, man, with that last 3-pointer, that was kind of that dagger. We inbounded to him, and he just immediately went for that 3-pointer and nailed it, dude. And it was glorious.
Yeah, it was. It was really nice. And Zakai is really, I mean, he's stepped up in a big way as far as closing games. He even did against LSU as well. But yeah, dude, I mean, yeah, Chaz was on fire from 3 in this game, 8 for 13. That's insane. I mean, if he shoots from that clip, we're going to be really tough to beat, especially with our defense. But yeah, I mean, again, like it's a nice win, but it's also, just to be honest, it's one of those things that's just not going to be consistent. We know that.
Yep.
We can't rely on that every game. And that's why, I mean, there's a lot of it's a lot of weird energy with the basketball team, man. I'll be honest. A lot of people, like, a lot of fans, like, especially in the first half of games, they're just like saying, "Oh, this is the worst basketball team Rick Barnes has had. Like, this team has zero chance in the tournament. They're going to get bounced in the second round, and it's going to be done." And it's like, okay, I mean, they could end up getting bounced in the second round, but you can also be wrong. It's like one of those things, like if things don't go our way in the second round. But my only point is that, man, there's, again, a lot of weird energy on Vol Twitter specifically surrounding this basketball team. But hey, they have an opportunity to do what no other Tennessee team has done and get that 1 seed, dude. And I don't know how we're going to match up in the tournament, man. It's a really hard tournament to win, and I think what it comes down to, Vols fans are just, they want that Final Four appearance so bad, right? Like, the baseball team has spoiled us. They won a national championship. The Tennessee football, I've said ever since the playoffs started, hey, I just want to be in the playoff. I just want to in that playoff conversation. Well, first year of the 12-team playoff, Tennessee football made the playoffs. We're embarrassed, but they made the playoffs nonetheless. Now people just want that Final Four. They want that Final Four so freaking bad, dude. And I think it's causing people to be a little bit irrational with the basketball team. Because at the end of the day, dude, I mean, this team has shown all year long that's one of the best in the country. I mean, that's a fact. It's it can be frustrating to watch them at times, but considering the difficulty of our schedule and the fact that we've went through it and have taken heartbreaking losses like against Auburn, have come back from that. I think a lot of people are also really just frustrated with the Kentucky series this year. Honestly, that's one
Dropping
thing too.
Both the Kentucky
exactly.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is. It was tough. But dude, like this team, it's just nice to know, like, hey, Chaz can give you 30, and and I also still think Igor has a lot to give, and Zakai. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Zakai, dude, and that will continue in the LSU game. He's phenomenal, dude. I've actually grown such an attachment to Zakai. It's gonna be heartbreaking not to watch him play here anymore. Like, for me, it's just, I mean, he's taken a step this year. That's the thing. He's actually gotten better, dude.
Continuing to get better, yeah.
He's gotten a lot better, dude. And he's becoming more of a force scoring the basketball, and he's still doing everything else at such a high level. So, I think this A&M game ultimately shows that, hey, any given day we can really beat anybody in the country, even going on the road in a tough environment like A&M, doing that. So it was a huge win, man.
Well, but I mean, because I always go back to the Auburn game, right? And yes, the Kentucky game, them having our number this season for whatever reason is frustrating. Maybe we'll have a chance to redeem ourselves in the SEC tournament against Kentucky, but it's very clear that everyone agrees that Auburn is the number one team in the country. They're probably going to get the top overall seed, right? The number one overall seed in the tournament. And all the people that you hear on TV, and everyone's like, yes, Auburn is clearly the best team in the country. They're the team to beat. They're the favorites to win the national championship. And people forget that we lost to them by 2 points with a little bit of questionable reffing in their arena. On their basketball court.
Yep.
And and so we, like you said, yes, I think it's the inconsistency that causes people, including us included, to kind of have those feelings about the team where it's like, man, it's going to really suck if we get bounced in the second round, and we could get bounced in the second round, and da-da-da. But the fact of the matter is yes, despite the little bit of inconsistency, like you said, this team has shown that they are one of the best in the country and can play with the best in the country and can beat the best in the country. I mean, toss a coin on that Auburn game on a neutral court, Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that this team has a real shot to, anything can happen once you get to the big dance, right? And so if this team can get hot and this team can stay consistent through those games, then anything can happen. A Final Four appearance or more.
I agree, man. And I think that's why that 1 seed is so huge, because you get to avoid a team like Auburn and Duke until the Final Four. So that 1 seed is going to be massive. But, yeah, I mean, I agree with people. Like, the team has been inconsistent to a certain extent, but also it is also one of the best teams in the country. And I think we're also getting a little bit spoiled as a fan base. I'm noticing, like, it's like people are acting like it's national championship or bust in every sport. When it's like, dude, growing up, we were mainly football fans, and I think we still are to a certain extent. But you didn't hear a lot about the baseball team. Now, Bruce Pearl did make some noise with the basketball team, but between Bruce Pearl and Rick Barnes, the basketball team was dead. It was pretty much unwatchable for most of those years. And now we're like in the conversation for a 1 seed or a 2 seed, and people are kind of taking that for granted. We're not a blue blood in basketball. I mean, we never were. And Rick Barnes has put us in that conversation every single season. So just taking a step back, and listen, I'm part of that. You've heard me on this podcast railing to Chaz Lanier for inconsistencies and things like that. But it's like taking a step back, just realizing, okay, we're in the conversation for one of the best teams in the country, potentially one of the 4 best teams in the country. Let's appreciate that. Let's appreciate that a little bit. And no matter what happens in the tournament.
Yeah, and that's not to say that we don't want to win a national championship. Of course we do, right? Of course, I mean, absolutely we want to win a national championship. But yeah, I think you make a great point that, it's like we got to remember that really just the overall picture of Tennessee athletics right now is just something to feel blessed about, is that, like whatever sport we look at, we're probably winning. And that's a fun, it's a fun time to be a Tennessee Volunteer fan when it's like you get bright, because college sports, it's about the pride, right? It's about, yes, it's about tradition and all that, but it's about, like you've said before, state pride, and it's about bragging rights and all that. And it's like, dude, pretty much anywhere you look, we've got that pride, in every sport. And so that's a nice place to be. And yeah, I'm very grateful to Rick Barnes for what he's done for our program and what he's built up.
Yeah, man. So that's pretty much all I have on the A&M game. Massive win, like you say, keeping us in that 1 seed hunt. And Chaz stepped up big. Like, we're gonna need him to do that a couple games in the tournament. Again, it's not like DK. I don't expect him to give it to us every game in the tournament, but when he gets hot, dude, he can completely change the game for us offensively. So it's nice to have that in our arsenal. So I guess that brings us to the LSU game where, Chaz wasn't as hot, but we found a way to win this game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to kick off by saying is, I'd love to talk through, like you said, Chaz wasn't as hot as Ziegler came in with the most points in the game and at 17. But that's what was interesting about this game, is that the points were pretty spread out in this game. It looked kind of like a pretty nice all-around win, even though, like you said, it was kind of a hard-fought win.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was the defense just was like suffocating in this game. Really kept us in it because we were kind of looking. It was just like one of those ugly offensive games, and I think that's why there's a portion of the fan base that doesn't love watching this team. And that's one of the things too. It's like you're coming off a year with one of the best isolation players in Tennessee history with Dalton Connect, right? And that's fun basketball to watch. It is. When you give the ball to somebody and then they just find their own shot, that's entertaining. And sometimes this team just, like, it looks like it can't do anything offensively, and it's ugly at times. But I will say there was a couple nice plays in this game. For one, best play I can remember is last night. So Zakai got a steal off an inbound pass. He passed it up to Cade Phillips. Cade Phillips went in for a one-handed dunk. Okay, uncontested one-handed dunk. Ricochets off the rim. Okay.
Oh.
My boy Igor comes in with a tough offensive rebound, super tough, because at that point the LSU defenders were down on our side of the court. He secures the rebound, passes out Zakai, and then Zakai just makes a beautiful move to the basket, dude. Shoots a layup, not even looking at the rim, literally throws it like behind him, draws a foul, and one, dude. Beautiful play by Zakai. I mean, he got the steal. Should have had the assist to Cade Phillips, but Cade Phillips embarrassed himself. Igor got the ball back and then got it to Zakai, and Zakai made it happen. That's another thing with Zakai, man. It's like, dude, he is our only threat driving to the basket on a consistent basis. Like, he is the only threat. If that dude was 6'3", man, oh man, his potential would be through the roof. I mean, he'd probably be a top 10 pick kind of potential, in my opinion, if he had the height, because he makes really nice moves going to the basket. finds a way to finish. And the biggest thing with this game, dude, is he got to the foul line. I mean, that's what he was doing in this game. Oh, actually, you know what? That was the A&M game, but still, he got to the foul line a lot in this game as well. He's really good at that. He's really good at drawing fouls. Now, a lot of times, since he's so small, once he gets fouled, refs will just let dudes mug him and like get away with it because he's so tiny. But he's done a great job recently of drawing those fouls, getting to the foul line, scoring like that. He's just been consistently scoring well, man. He's just not really ever done this. Like at Tennessee, like there's been so many games where he's under 10 points and he's just bricking every three he throws up, and he's just not doing that recently, man. He is finding a way to score consistently every single game. Like you said, led the team in scoring in this game, and you add that to literally possibly the best defender in college basketball. I mean, like that's what I was alluding to earlier, dude. I cannot say enough good things about Zakai Ziegler, and at this point, it's like, who knows, dude? He might be able to will us to victory in the tournament, unlike ever before, really, because this is the best basketball he's been playing as of all, in my opinion, for what I've seen of him.
I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, it's like when you're playing elite level defense, and like you said, now this offense, he's finally kind of clicked on offense for whatever reason, and he's scoring, he's got the assists, he's still the floor general, and then, to your point, he's always been the floor general, right? He's always run the offense how we need him to, and all of that, and he's always had the assists. That's always been there, but and the defense has always been there, but now all of a sudden he's scoring too, and so what a threat, and absolutely he's gonna, I have no doubt, however far we go in the tournament, it will be in large part, if not in most part, due to Zakai.
Oh, I totally agree with you, dude. And just to put some numbers to that, just this season, this isn't even looking back on his other parts of his career, so includes his tear he's been on. He's averaging 13.6 points per game. Well, since that Kentucky game that I keep alluding to, since he's got hurt in that Kentucky game, he's had 21 against Missouri, 17 against Oklahoma, 17 against Kentucky again, 22 against Vanderbilt, 16 against A&M, and 17 against LSU. So consistently well above his season average. Consistently well above it. And like you said, he's doing everything else. I mean, he's almost hitting a double-double every game because of his assist numbers. But, I mean, it's interesting, dude. It's really interesting, and because I mean, it's just a threat we've never had. I mean, at the end of the day, he's just never been able to score at this volume, and he's just finding a way to do it every single game. And this is yet another game where that play he made was towards the end of the game, and we needed to close it out because this LSU game started to get kind of close. And once again, Zakai closed the show. I mean, he's been extremely clutch. High level score as of recently, man. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think our tournament hopes really do rely on him at this point. And we also have the X factor of Chaz Lanier. Chaz Lanier can put up 30 any game, but, sometimes he can put up 10. But, who knows what's going to happen to him. And I think the fans also want to know what's happening with Igor Milicic, because I've been hyping up Igor.
Yeah, we got to get a little bit of Igor watch here.
We do, because people have been asking me, what's going on with your boy Igor? Listen, man, he led the team last night in plus minus. So, hey, I'm just saying, if you believe in plus minus at all, he led the team in it. So, I'll also say this, and I just gave Rick Barnes a lot of praise, and, always, I wish I could have a little disclaimer. Rick Barnes knows infinitely more than me about basketball. Every single time I potentially criticize Rick Barnes, just that disclaimer across the bottom of my screen. But it's become Rick Barnes' favorite activity in the middle of a game to chew out Igor and to bench him at some point for something that is very minuscule, dude. He just randomly likes to bench Igor. He's literally done it 4 or 5 games in a row now, dude. It's absurd. He did it once again in this game. He chewed out Igor and he benched him, and it's dude, he's really tough on my boy Igor. I'm just gonna be honest. He's really tough on him, and I think I think Igor made an impact last night despite shooting 2 for 9. I know 2 for 9 is not the best. Okay, it's not the best. It's not the best field goal percentage.
He still had 7 rebounds. He had 3 assists.
He made an impact, dude. He made an impact, and I also still think he's potentially can score 20 points, and just having that on the team is really good. I think, and also got a shout out Akpara, and I'll get into him in a minute, but I think this team has more gelling to do. I know that's crazy because we have like 3 or 4 regular season games left, but I think it could gel better. And who knows, dude? I think if we hit our stride, we could be insanely good. But I don't think we have really hit that stride yet, if I'm being honest. Like, it still feels, especially in this game, it feels like it's just, I don't know if it's the chemistry or if it's like it's just the offense in general just doesn't look fluid at all times. So I do think the ceiling is higher on this team, that's a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, if we could hit a stride heading into the SC tournament and then the NCAA tournament, that would be huge.
Yes,
it would be absolutely massive if we could hit that stride that you're talking about at the right time. But yeah, I mean, you talked about how you want to talk a little bit about Akpara, and maybe a couple others, because at the end of the day, this was kind of an ugly win against LSU. But like I mentioned at the top of the segment, the love was spread out in this game. I mean, You've got Meshack with 9 points and 8 rebounds, also an assist there. You've got Lanier still scored a respectable 14. Look, I'm not going to get upset at Lanier if you score 14.
He didn't have a bad game last night. He really did.
He had 9 rebounds, right? I mean, so he didn't really have a bad game. Like, look, if Chaz Lanier can follow up his 30-point games with a 14.9 rebound game, okay,
we'll take it.
Right?
We'll take that.
We'll take that. And then Ziegler leading the team in scoring, but then you shouted out Akpara with 15 points, 7 rebounds, and shot 6 for 6 from the floor. I mean, he had a huge night.
Speaking of Akpara, one thing I appreciate about the coaching staff last night, it was very clear early on we were not going to shoot well. It was going to be one of those games. And in the Kentucky series this year, one thing that frustrated me when it was very clear we weren't shooting well and the other team was, what did we do? We kept shooting. We kept trying to jack up threes. We kept trying to win like that, and it just didn't work. And it didn't work twice. In this game, it was very clear that it was going to be defensive slugfest, right? It was going to be a defensive slugfest. We had that advantage because we're one of the best defensive teams in the country. So when we have that advantage, what should you do? You shouldn't keep jacking up threes because why would you do that? That makes no sense, especially in a game like this where your defense is playing really well. You don't need to do that. You don't need to jack up threes to win this game. So what did they do? They got the ball down low to Akpara, and they let him cook in the paint. And that's exactly what I've been asking for all year. I'm not saying, listen, Akpara is not a consistent 15-7 kind of guy. But when it's that kind of game, play to the flow of the game. Play to the flow of the game. Realize, okay, we're not going to need 30 out of Chaz this game to win, okay? Margin doesn't really matter. We just need to win. Okay, we're not going to need 30 out of Chaz. We're not going to need 20 out of Zakai. Let's give the ball to Akpara. Let him go shoot 6 shots, go 6 for 6, get 15 points, and let's just get out here with a W. And I thought they managed the game flow really well last night. Just based off, hey, I feel like pretty early on in a basketball game how things are going to go. Like the flow of the game, how things are going to flow. Of course, you have to adapt to that as the game goes on. But what killed me in past games, again, specifically the Kentucky series, it's just like banging our head against the wall, right? It's just like you're just not going to change it up no matter what, even though it's very clear what we need to do, and we're just going to keep banging our head against the wall, and it just didn't work. But in this game, I think we did change it up a little bit and adapt it to the flow of the game. And we're able to come out of, again, on the road in the SEC. It's, LSU's not the best team, but they beat some pretty good teams. I think they beat Kansas State or something. They're talking about how they had some big out-of-conference win. Can't remember who. But anyway, point being is it's a solid team on the road. So, and we have a lot to play for. Every regular season game now at this point is a lot to play for. So it was good to just get out of there with a dub.
Yeah, absolutely huge. Because, like you said, in order for us to remain in the hunt for that number one seed, we have
Had to
to
beat
take
them.
care of business. You got
Yep.
to take care of business. So,
It
yeah,
was
it's
Kansas State.
good. Kansas State. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's the thing about the SEC is there's no real pushover teams in the SEC, and
No,
so
not this
yeah,
year.
it's huge to get a win against LSU on the road. And so, real quick shout out. I'll shift gears a little bit, which will be a segue into our final piece about the men's basketball team. But real quick, we'll shift gears over to the Lady Vols. They also got a huge win against our hated rival, the Crimson Tide, and I believe that was a top 20 matchup. I believe Alabama was ranked 18 at the time, or maybe 15. I can't remember. I might be getting that mixed up between our rank and their rank, but it was a top 20 matchup, and yeah, huge. Or maybe they weren't ranked. I don't remember.
No, they were
Huge.
top 20.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, man, speaking of winning, Kim Caldwell just continues to win huge games and got him in the right direction.
It's unbelievable what she's doing, dude. I mean, she's literally won pretty much every game that wasn't against like insanely hard competition. I guess the only exception to that would be Vanderbilt. They're not insanely good, but that was a very close road loss. And then, like you said, she just got another top 20 win against Alabama. I mean, dude, like, I think when we hired Kim Godwell, everyone was kind of like, okay, this is a good hire, young coach, a lot of potential. No one expected her to do what she's doing year one. Nobody. And it's insane to say, but dude, she can make noise this season. Not like 5 years from now. Like this season, and plus she's looking like she's got the Tony V effect in terms of recruiting. She's an insane recruiter. So that's really good news, obviously, because recruiting's the backbone of every sports
Right.
program in college. But yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know what their ceiling is this year. I'm not gonna say it's Final Four. That seems like a bit hasty, but I mean they've played a lot of these really hard teams so tough, and if they have the clear talent advantage, typically it shows in the scoreboard, man. I mean, typically it shows up, and which is it's nuts, dude. It's nuts the way she's elevated this program immediately, and it's a lot like I mean the Lady Vols are should be considered top two program in college women's basketball, if not number one. I mean, there's a very strong debate for number one, but there's no debate for like bottom like top three. It's literally either Connecticut, you're either taking UConn or you're taking the Lady Vols. So it's not surprising that it's a coach away, dude. We've talked about this in terms of football and any sport. Like when you have a program like the Lady Vols, you're a coach away. It's that
Yep.
simple. It's not rocket science. Now it's hard. So, listen, I'm not going to say it's easy to find the right coach. That is difficult, but it is very easy to figure out what's wrong with the program. Like what was wrong with the program? Why is the program not competing for national championships like they were for 30 years with Pat Summitt? It's the coach. It's not hard to figure out. And now that we have the right coach, Kim Caldwell in place, dude, the ceiling is literally national championships for the Lady Vols again.
And that's incredible because there's so many banners that have been hung in Thompson Bowling Arena by the great Pat Summitt, and so to be able to return to the summit of women's college basketball would be absolutely massive. And so we're super grateful to, like you said, finally have that coach. We were just a coach away, and she
Yep.
seems to be that coach, that right coach, to be able to get us back to the place that the Lady Vols need to be at. Historically, like like you're talking about. So, awesome win for the Lady Vols against Alabama. Uh, but that leads us into back to the men's team. They will now also face Alabama this coming Saturday. And to me, Austin, I look at this Alabama game for the men's team as really kind of our last okay SC tournament. Maybe we have a chance to pad our resume, but if we can win this Alabama game, that is going to really, really kind of solidify our resume heading into tournament time.
Yeah, I think it's what I've heard from analysts who clearly know more about college basketball than I do, um, is that it's essentially like Tennessee controls their destiny. If they win out in the regular season, they should be a 1 seed. Now, again, I have a lot to learning to do. How much the SEC tournament's going to play a factor in that? Like, if we get bounced round one of the SEC tournament, how will that impact it? I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but at the end of the day, I think if we win these last couple of regular season games, we're going to be a 1 seed. Because, really, like you said, it does come down to the Alabama game because that's the game that will pad our resume enough to put us in that conversation. And I think right now the conversation is between us and Alabama. So, hey, if we have the head-to-head, then boom, we should take it over them. Now, if it's anything like the College Football Playoff Committee, you never know. But anyway,
you never know what kind of cooking they got going on.
It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up whether Tennessee wins or not. But and it's not really a toss-up. They're just going to put Alabama ahead of Tennessee. Now, luckily for us, that game is at home. We have them at Thompson Bowling, and we have been really good at Thompson Bowling this year. Man, I want to say our only loss in Thompson Bowling is against Kentucky,
yeah, I'm pretty confident it's only
against Kentucky. Okay, it is. It is only just against Kentucky. I thought so as well, but just wanted to double check. So we've only lost against Kentucky, and clearly Kentucky just had our number this year. They were totally motivated to just beat us. Like that was their everything this year. So totally focused on beating Tennessee. Hopefully we don't run into them in the tournament, but. So, yeah, we get Alabama at home, dude. And then the last two games outside of that is Ole Miss and South Carolina. And those are two of the worst teams in the SEC. Now, I'm not going to lie, dude. When it comes to having South Carolina on the schedule to determine, playoff seeding, as a Tennessee fan.
A little bit of PTSD.
I don't love it. I don't love
dicey.
It. Exactly. I don't love that. But who knows? Maybe if we beat Alabama, it's a lock no matter what. But at the end of the day, if you win these last 3 games, you're likely a 1 seed. That team's going to do something no other Tennessee basketball team has done, and I think it's massive, dude. Because if we're a 1 seed last year, we don't run into Purdue, and if we don't run into Purdue last year, then we might win a national championship, or at least definitely make a Final Four. Because honestly, I don't know. That might have been the only team we lose to last year, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I felt that way. I really felt
exactly. So, and of course they put them in our bracket, but whatever. It's just classic, dude. It's just classic. Expect Kentucky to be in our bracket, by the way. Expect them, no matter what happens. Expect us to have Kentucky in our bracket.
Go ahead and bet the house on that. I'm sure that's going to be on one of the betting apps. So go ahead and bet the house on that.
But I'm excited to see how it plays out, man. This Alabama game is really huge. We'll definitely try to get a review out as soon as possible after that game because I know it's going to be a massive game. That's like our biggest regular season game up to this point. Outside of that Auburn game probably. So yeah, dude, excited for it.
Excited to see what we can do against the Crimson Tide. It is definitely the biggest game left in our schedule, but like you said, we still got Ole Miss and South Carolina. I mean, Ole Miss played Auburn pretty tough, right? I mean, they might be the worst teams in the SEC, but they're not. It's not like it's going to be an easy last few games. So, and we are on the road against Ole Miss as well. So, like Austin said, we will keep you all updated with reviews, especially after the Alabama game. But man, let's see what this team can do. Can they hit a streak like you're talking about at the right time? Win these last 3 regular season games. Do what you got to do in the SEC tournament. Win a few, if not win the whole thing. And then all of a sudden, we've got that elusive number 1 seed, and we'll see what kind of noise we can make in the big dance. And because at the end of the day, this team is definitely more than capable of making some noise.
I will say BVS is super real. When we get to 1 seed, all of a sudden I'm thinking 16 seed upset. It's over.
Yeah, we're gonna be the second. It'll at that point be the second ever number 1 seed to lose to the 16th seed.
But,
well, definitely expect that out of me as soon as if God forbid, if we're ever down against the 16 seed, or honestly, probably as soon as the 16 seed hits a bucket against us, I'm gonna be
Oh,
like,
it's
yep,
over.
that's it, that's
It's
done.
done.
It's
It's done.
here it comes.
You just know one of those random scrappy white dudes from one of those 16 seeds is just gonna make a name for himself in the tournament. Drop a 40
Against
burger on
Tennessee,
us.
it's
Drop a
it's
40
gonna,
burger. He can't
yeah,
miss. He's shooting 35 footers. He literally just can't miss. Yeah, that's I will probably bet on that, to be honest.
it's gonna be George Thornton III from Montana State.
Yep.
He's gonna be, some, like you said, lanky, funky white dude, and
Drop
he's gonna, yeah.
42 points. 13 and 15 from three, and don't check that math, please. Don't do the math on that. It probably works itself out, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be tough because it's like the first time ever you get the one seed, and it's
Yeah.
just we'll see though, man. We'll see.
One of those deals. BVS is real, but hey, we are positive on this podcast, and the fact of the matter is right now, there's a lot of positivity around volunteer sports because again, we just can't stop winning. Huge wins from the basketball team, both men and women, and that brings us finally, Austin, to the BaseVols. Tony
Yep.
V and the Tennessee Volunteer baseball team, who also can't stop winning. Quite literally, they are undefeated still on the season, and they had several big wins since the last podcast episode that we dropped. We have swept Samford and had it was a pretty scrappy series there against Samford, but we swept them. We had a recent victory against North Alabama, but real quick, I want to give a shout out, a quick throwback to kind of an old game at this point against UNC Asheville. We joked in the last episode about who the heck UNC Asheville even was. Kind of almost akin to the viral Kent State moment we had, and I will call it viral because it got over 1,000 views. It's our most viewed clip. So a viral moment against Kent State when we declared Kent State the worst team in college football, and it ended up being true. We absolutely beat the brakes off Kent State. Well, again, the Vol Talk prophecy has been fulfilled because we were ragging on UNC Asheville, and this team dropped 29 runs on them, which is just kind of comical. That's just like that. Those are video game numbers to me in baseball. 29 runs, 29-5, I believe was the final.
29-4.
29-4. There you go. So, fun stuff there. But honestly, again, the slightly more difficult competition was Samford, and Samford's it's a small school, but it's obviously they have a decent baseball team that came out and played their hearts out, but we were able to sweep them.
Yep, got the sweep. Yeah, this team is really exciting, dude. Main takeaway from this season so far is Liam Doyle, dude. I mentioned him last episode. Yeah, we got a really, really good pitcher on our hands, dude. Like, really, really good. It's a very exciting because he might, okay, outside of Chase Burns, probably possibly the best pitcher under Tony Vitello. If that's blasphemous to somebody, you can let me know. But just his projection right now, dude, where he's improved with his speed. His strikeout numbers are ridiculous, dude. Nobody can touch his stuff right now. We were talking about it before the show, but I'll go ahead and give the stat now. He has struck out 25 of 33 hitters he's faced this year. That's insane, dude. Those strikeout numbers are ridiculous. I mean, nobody's touching him right now. For sure, our ace. He's going to be our Friday night starter, it looks like. At least that's what it's been so far. You don't know how they're going to shift things around, but right now it seems like he'll be the Friday night guy. And Sunday will kind of be like a rotation of guys. But, yeah, dude. And the hitting is as electric as it, it's kind of tough to, again, evaluate the team right now with the lower level competition because
the lesser competition, yeah.
The lower level schools, they don't have as deep as a pitching staff as some of our SEC opponents will. So it's tough to evaluate that portion of it. But man, they're hitting bombs just like last year, dude. Everyone's hitting bombs. Seems like everyone's eating in the lineup right now. And we just got a huge, or not huge, got a solid midweek win against North Alabama. It's 7-5 was the final, but it was kind of it was kind of in hand the whole game. To be honest, I think it was 7-1 at some point, and maybe North Alabama made a little bit of a comeback. But yeah, dude, it's again. We don't know a lot about the baseball team right now. I will say. I mean, they look really good. We're ranked number 3, clearly. Like the experts are projecting us out to be one of the best teams in the country. But we'll know more after this weekend, though, because we have a huge tournament coming up. 2 ranked teams in the tournament, Oklahoma State and Arizona. We also play Rice. It's just like one of those invitational kind of things with some solid teams. And so we'll know a lot after this weekend to see kind of where we stand and project us going forward if we can win this tournament. I will say last year we won one of these tournaments before SEC play as well. So it's big to win something like this, dude. Again, it'll tell us a lot more about the team. So excited to see that this weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of like those tournaments in basketball, early
Yes.
on in the season where it like you said, it tells you a lot about the team and what we can potentially expect. And that doesn't mean that the fate is sealed if we were to drop a couple in the tournament, right? Because the team
Sure.
can get better over the season, but it still will tell us a lot about the team. But the fact of the matter is this team looks to be as exciting as last year's team, and looks to be just again like we're not missing a beat. In fact, I'm wearing, y'all can't see the back of my shirt, but I'm wearing my 2024 national championship shirt. On the back, it's got the 24 with all the autographs from the players from last season. And so, again, we lost a lot of players. We lost a lot of talent. Christian Moore's making a splash on the professional level, and so a lot of the talent that we lost from last year is a big loss. But man, Tony V, like you talked about, he's such a good recruiter. We brought in some folks from the transfer portal, brought in
Yeah, the
some new
transfer
guys, some new
portal was
freshmen.
huge.
Transfer portal is huge, and so we've reloaded, and this team looks to be as good as it has been.
Yeah, when you get your ace in the transfer portal in Liam Doyle, dude. I mean that's looking like Dalton Connect level transfer pickup or Jermon McCoy level transfer pickup. Just comes in, immediately plugs into an extremely, I mean possibly the most important position in baseball. Your ace, your pitcher, your number one guy. I mean that's probably is the most important position in baseball. So. And I mean, dude, there's analysts saying that he could be one of the best pitchers in the country this year, dude. So, I mean, that's critical, man. And when you already have this crazy lineup of hitters, we are just pumping these dudes out, man. They have some. I'm not gonna speculate what they got going on in the locker room or whatever, but whatever they're doing with those boys is working. Strength and conditioning staff, it is working. So yeah, dude, really excited to continue watching the baseball team this year, and especially this tournament, dude. This tournament is going to be massive. So
It's going to be massive. We'll look forward to watching it. But surely you're not throwing out some
no, never.
accusations about maybe some Mark McGuire era,
No, of
kind
course
of
not.
Barry Bonds era, kind of.
No, they're just, dude. They're just able to get these guys right, man. I'm just saying they could get them in bombs, dude. Now it does help being in Lindsey Nelson, but I mean, yeah, dude, it's nuts. It's nuts. So hopefully they keep it up. Again, it's hard to get too excited about baseball right now. I mean, I've been keeping up with all the games, trying to watch it, even though it's a task to find these baseball games, dude. It is.
Gosh,
And my ESPN app, dude, it drives me insane. But anyways, yeah, I've been keeping up with it, but it's hard to know what we are yet. It's hard to get excited and say, hey, we're going back to Omaha, or hey, we're two-peating, man. Get the banner ready, but it's looking very, very promising right now.
Yeah, it's looking good. But just to remind, again, we like to be realists on this podcast. This is a Vol Talk podcast. We're Vol fanatics, but we like to think of ourselves as semi-intelligent Vol fanatics. And so we do want to
Speak for
just remind
yourself.
our listeners. Okay, well, we're maybe partially semi-intelligent, but we do want to remind our listeners that in baseball, especially in college baseball, it is incredibly difficult, really almost unheard of to two-peat back-to-back national championships in baseball. So it's going to be tough. But honestly, bro, if anyone could do it, it's Tony V. It's Tony Vitello and this program that he's built, and especially again how we've reloaded, especially with the transfer portal, like you've talked about, and potentially the best pitcher in college baseball. If there's ever going to be a time where a team can two-peat, this would be it, in my opinion.
I agree, man. I think he's already shown that he's reloaded enough of the roster loss that it's very easily could two-peat. Because I mean, if you make up for, let's say we lose, we're definitely going to lose some juice hitting, right? Like we're not going to hit as many bombs as we did last year. That would be insane. Like you lose Christian Moore, Blake Burke, all those dudes. You're definitely going to lose some of that power and some of the home runs. But if you can make up for that in pitching, I mean, I think it's very possible this is a better pitching staff than we had last year, even though it might not be as deep, which is definitely going to be a problem at some point. But I think the pitching staff is looking really, really good so far. So we'll see, man. We'll see. A lot of ball to be played, but we'll see.
Early on for sure, but definitely going to be keeping an eye on these baseballs, and it is exciting stuff. And like you mentioned, if you're able to reload the pitching, and it's kind of like in basketball. Hey, maybe we don't have huge offensive numbers, but Rick Barnes has the defense on the up and up, and so you're able to make a splash with that. And so we'll see if Tony V maybe can make a splash with this big pitching staff, especially Liam Doyle, like you're talking about. Good and fun stuff to keep an eye on. As always, folks, we will be keeping an eye on all of it for you. We hope you continue to join us on these podcast episodes as we review and lightly preview these games for both the basketball teams and the baseball team. Austin, any other final thoughts on any of these games before we close it out?
Nope, no final thoughts. Got some big stuff coming up. The Alabama game, the tournament, the baseball tournament we're talking about. Keep you all updated on all that. We also have the NFL Combine this week. I promised a little bit of a draft preview in terms of our Vols, our Tennessee Vols, in the upcoming draft. I think we'll wait till after the Combine to see what those Combine numbers look like. I will say James Pierce, just to put this in at the end, James Pierce stock is falling a little bit. It's looking like he
I
could
heard
even
about this. There's like a little character question, I guess.
Yeah, which makes no sense. I mean, that's just I guess we will touch on that because the character question came out, which it's just. Did you hear anything about that while he was here on campus? Because I heard nothing.
No,
I literally never heard that.
I guess it was he got arrested for not having a valid license, right? And
that's ridiculous. I mean, that's maybe. I didn't hear. I didn't even hear anything about that. But the character question thing, dude, I literally had never heard anyone mention that about James Pierce until draft season. And listen, man, that makes me think some of these contending teams, man, they're like, let's put some stuff out there and get James Pierce to fall.
That would be wild to do a negative PR campaign against a player that you want to draft.
You'd be surprised, brother.
Stuff,
You'd be surprised, dude. I mean,
that's crazy.
GMs have done that in the past, so. But yeah, dude, we'll see how he performs at the Combine. He's definitely the number one guy I want to look at, see what that 40 time is. Because trust me, dude, if he runs in the 4.4s, all of a sudden, dude, we're looking past some character concerns. I'm just saying, all of a sudden, things change when that 4.4 time comes in for that defensive end. So we'll see.
It's amazing how that works. It's funny how that works.
We'll see. I definitely got my pulse on that, and at some point, Dakota and I, and possibly Blake too, will bring a show just kind of predicting where some of these guys will fall. Man, we got a lot of Vols coming up, potentially get drafted this year, so we'll see.
Which is nice because we had a few years where there weren't as many Vols going in the draft, and so it'll be nice to see our former Tennessee Vols going into the NFL and getting drafted high in the draft like historically we have done. Historically, Tennessee has always produced huge NFL talent. So Be nice to see. We'll definitely bring y'all that episode. We will also, as Austin mentioned, keep y'all updated on these big games coming up for the baseball team in this tournament, as well as the basketball team against this huge game against Alabama this coming Saturday against the Crimson Tide. So we will catch you all on the other side of that game against Bama. Until then, as always, go Vols.
GBO.